All right, let's take a closer look at this now, at this reform plan and what it means for France. I'm joined by Saruhan Hatipoglu, CGTN's global economics analyst and CEO of BERI. Welcome back to the show.
Good evening, Rachelle.
Now, we know that French leaders have been trying to make this happen for about 30 years now. So just how big of a deal is this for France and its economy?
Well, it is huge because, like you said, almost every president has tried to do this. And if you look at it, the reason that they try to do this is because of the concept we call Eurosclerosis, which is, yes, there's growth, but there's also high unemployment and slow job creation. Europe suffered from that from 1970 to 1980. And then they introduced the single market in 1986. Everything seemed to be going okay, but most of the countries, including Germany, started doing some structural reforms. And those countries who've started that have fared better than others, and France did not. And what we're seeing here today is exactly that negligence that Mr. Macron realizes is taking place, and he wants to change it. Look, structural unemployment in France is 4.2%. That's huge. Right. If you look at self-employment numbers from 2010 to 2017, it increased by 17%, fastest in the Eurozone. But if salaried employment just grew minimally. And if you look at within the salaried employment growth, 85% was in temporary jobs. So this is why we're not getting in France long-term unemployment, and he's trying to change it.
So even though France does need more flexibility in its labor market, politically, what is this doing to Macron?
Well, he's taking a huge risk, right? Because the government before him, the socialist, the Hollande government, tried that, and they ended the office with single-digit popularity. He announced that he was not going to run for a second term, first time in 60 years. That has never happened. So this is a difficult thing to challenge. But he's done it, and he's doing the right way because we're seeing that despite all this protest, despite all the strikes, he got two unions to his side, at least listening to him. They still criticize the reform measures, but they're listening to him. What he did was that he took advantage of his parliamentary majority. He started it quickly during summer, and French people don't like to have strikes during summer, so he did that very quickly. That was very good. And one of the leading unions, FO leader, said that we had real consultation for the first time. So he's getting these different sides to his, different enemies, if you will, to his side. And like they said, men with courage don't slay dragons, they ride them. And so far, Mr. Macron seems to be doing just that.
Now, what would you say are some of the most contentious and important aspects of these reforms?
Well, he's trying to change the social model in France. To you and me, that may be okay. To the UK, to the US, that may be very normal. But in France, that's a big thing. That's a revolution. So what he's trying to do is, you touched upon some of those things, but the major thing is changing negotiations from the sectoral area to individual companies. So individual companies will be able to say in downturn, and they'll say, look, we're not doing well. We need to arrange minimum hours. We need to arrange the number of workers that we hire. And the workers are going to listen to that. They're also changing, which is very important, the shift from global emphasis to domestic emphasis. Right now in France, a judge can block layoffs if the company is doing well in global operations, right, but suffering in domestic operations. Now they're changing that. They're just going to look at what the company is doing in France. There are many other things. One other thing that I want to mention, which is very important, is short-term contracts.
Right.
The renewal and the duration of those contracts are determined by national law right now, and they're trying to change that, and they're trying to make it industrial law, which is also a huge shift.
So as we also look at this shift of more power then going to the employers and the companies, what is that going to do then for France's economy and its growth in the short to mid-term, you think?
Well, the hope is that what Germany did in 2003, what Chancellor Schröder then came up with the 2010 agenda. They're trying to, I think he's trying to do the same thing. And that thing is shifting the burden from companies to consumers. So the entire argument in France is, well, social spending is going to be affected by that. Well, if you look at Germany, when they've done this from 2003 to 2010, they succeeded this. Social spending to GDP in Germany was about 31%, right? And during the same time in France, it's 33%. It is not that it went down dramatically, they just shifted the burden. And that's what Mr. Macron is trying to do. He's trying to shift the burden from companies to consumers as well in France.
Well, protesters certainly taking offense to that at the moment. We'll see if that plays out in the long term. Thank you, as always.